Hi everybody. In today's video, I want to just walk you through the process, or should I say some of the pitfalls that I encountered when I renewed my driving license. Now, last year I went to renew my driving license, my UK international driving license, and it was 2 months expired. So I thought I could go into the LTO office and they would just renew it. But apparently, I believe now, if it's 1 day to 1 year, it has to be, you have to go through the correct procedure to get a Filipino license, which is okay. Now, what I'm going to tell you now is some of the pitfalls that I encountered. Now, number one, outside the LTO office, and in my case in particular was the Lapu-Lapu office, which is basically walking distance to the Lapu-Lapu City Hall. Outside the LTO office, you will get what they call fixers. Whatever you do, do not use a fixer for your driving license. One, because it will cost you more money. In one case, I heard someone paying 20,000 peso. Secondly, the license that they give you apparently and obviously is fake. And I believe the police can tell a fake license quite simply because some of the letters or numbers stand out. Something can be peeled. They've got various ways of identifying what is a fake license or not. So whatever you do, don't think you're going to jump the gun or you're scared of the written tests or anything like that, or the practical driving tests. Don't use a fixer because in the long run, it will pay you not to. Now, the first thing you want to do is go on to the LTO website, and in this case, it's called the LTMS portal. Go on there and register. And when you get when you become registered, it allows you to go on to the e-learning section and all the other information that you need regarding obtaining a license. And you can register your vehicle on that online service. When your license expires, you can renew it on that service. So I suggest you go onto the LTMS website and register first of all. Now, this is what happened to me. I went to the LTO office and obtained an application form. You can obtain them online, but I found there was 2 different versions of the form. Anyway, I went and got the form and they made an appointment for me the next day to come up. Now, I must admit the LTO service in Lapu was absolutely excellent, and I don't know how they did it, but they knew I was there for some reason, not unless one of the staff had added me on to the computer. But anyway, I went up there and I sat down and my name was called out with various other names, and I lined up and I think I paid 100 peso for registration or something. And then a little while later, I was told to go and get a medical. Now, I don't know where the approved medical place is for your particular LTO, but for mine, it was just around the corner, and I think it's actually attached to the LTO office. So, wearing glasses, I'm always a bit wary of having an eye test for driving licenses and such things like that. But anyway, I went round, I sat down amongst maybe 8 or 9 other people, and in front of me were 2 desks, one with a woman and one with a man. I went in, I said I'd come for a medical for a driving license, and I was given a form by the lady. I sat down, filled it in, completed it, and then sat down again, and a little while later I was asked to pay a fee, which was, I think, between 200 or 300 peso. And I was anticipating waiting to be called into a doctor's office where I would have a quick medical and an eyesight test, etc. But a few minutes later, I was called to the desk of the man who asked me various questions, and then he showed me some pictures on the computer screen for color blindness, where you have to pick the number or read out the number that is amongst the dots of the color blindness test. And I'd done all that, and he said, okay, that's it. Well, okay, fine. So I came out of the medical, went back round to the LTO office, sat down, and then I don't know if I had to pay something else, but then I was called forward to take the written test. Now, the night before, I was reading up on the highway code for the Philippines. I've been driving for over 40 years. I've done many driving tests during my army career for HGV-1 buses and all types of vehicles. So I was quite familiar with the highway code, but don't take it for granted that the highway code questions you'll get are going to be the same as you are used to in your own country. I know in the EU, which England was part of, most signs are basically the same everywhere. But I advise you, don't take it for granted. Read up on the highway code beforehand. And if you go onto the NMS website and on YouTube, there are loads and loads of different videos where you can run through the multi-choice questions. Now, I did this, but there were still a few questions on the test that I've never seen before. So just be aware. And the test itself is not easy because it's a multi-choice, but it's online, you're in front of a computer screen, and you have to keep your face or your eyes in the camera all the time. If you look down like that, it will switch itself off because it thinks you're looking at something. Now, my screen was very sensitive. In the end, I was starting to get my neck was starting to ache because I couldn't move it. But I think there was a problem because when one man left his computer, I was asked to move over to his computer, and that was a little bit more easier. Now, I don't really know what happened on my written test because, according to the website, a non-professional, which I am, a professional driver is like a taxi driver, a bus driver, etc. They are given 40 questions and you have to score 30 out of those 40. But for some unknown reason, I was given 60 questions, which is for a professional driver. And out of those 60, you have to get 45. Well, I passed and I got 52 out of 60. So I got 8 questions wrong, which I was quite pleased with. It's a bit of, when the man press the screen for the results, your heart jumps a bit in case you foul, which is not very nice. But anyway, when you pass your written test, when you've registered on the NMS, they will send you an email, and when you've made an appointment for your written test, they also send you an email, and on the results, you get a little certificate and also an email saying that you have passed your written test. And then you go on to the next test. Okay. So I passed my medical, I passed my written test. So the next thing was a practical test. Now, I was not going through a driving school and I had never had a car. So they wanted me to come back at 2 o'clock, but I couldn't. So I had to make an appointment in fact, you don't have to make an appointment. You just go up before 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Lapu, and you can arrange for a driving test. Anyway, 2 or 3 days later, I arranged for a friend's uncle to loan me his Mitsubishi. So I arranged for the car to be outside the LTO office at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The instructor came out. He said, "Where's the car?" And I said, "Well, it hasn't turned up yet." And he said, "Well, I told you 2 o'clock." And I thought, "Well, that's me. I failed." Anyway, the car came, and the instructor got in, and it was just lucky enough that he used to be a neighbour when I used to rent a house in Sahong, and we was chatting away. But what surprised me was that I sat in the car doing my normal checks beforehand, and when he got in the car, he took the handbrake off, and I've never experienced that before. And I said to him, "You've taken the handbrake off." He said, "Yeah, you just carry on driving." And then I said to him, "Do you want me to do the checks, outside vehicle checks, checks, mirror checks, etc., that I can reach all the instruments and everything?" He said, No, just carry on driving." So anyway, we left the LTO office, and I just followed the road ahead. He told me to be careful around here because there's a lot of pedestrians and motorbikes. Okay. Then we went to the back of the LTO, the back of the City Hall, where I came round, and there was a lot of parked cars and people. And then we finally came back to the front of City Hall. So basically, I've gone in a circle, and we came to the roundabout, excuse me, outside City Hall. I turned right and followed the road up, and then he told me to turn left and go back into the LTO office. So, okay, I did. So as we was going along, he said, "If you park up there, you pass." So I parked. But I'm not knocking the test, but I would assume that because I was not so much a foreigner, but because I had already held a a European or UK driving license, they didn't have to take me out on a full-blown test because they probably realised that the test in another country is probably more stricter than the one in the Philippines. But anyway, I can honestly say I didn't get out of second gear the whole way because of the pedestrians and cars and everything else. So I parked up. He said, "Okay, just wait inside." So I waited inside, and then I think I was called up again to pay or pay beforehand. Can't really remember because it was last year when I was doing this. But I waited for about 20 minutes, and then my name was called, and I went round the corner to where you have your fingerprints done and your photos, and I said, "I have already had my photo taken." He said, "No, this is your license." So I went beside the door, and the man had my license there, ready and waiting within 30 minutes of me finishing the driving test. And I signed for it, and I had a full driving license. And, the system was excellent. I can honestly say that the what's they call it, the LTMS portal. I'm looking on my laptop here. The LTMS portal was absolutely excellent. It's one of the best portals I've ever seen. The LTO office in Lapu-Lapu was so efficient. But I know some people have said if you go to a governmental office, wear long trousers. And so I did, to be on the safe side. But I did notice there was a few foreigners wearing shorts. Now, all the Filipinos that were in the office were wearing long trousers. And it's not worth taking the chance. You may get one official that doesn't like the dress code, and he may tell you to go and get long trousers. So take my advice, wear long trousers on every occasion you go to the LTO office, just out of respect for the others that are there. In total, I don't think I spent 1,000 pesos. or if I did, it was just over 1,000 pesos for the whole lot. Now, bear in mind that if you use a fixer, it's going to cost you much, much more. And in the back of your mind, every time you drive up to a police check, you're going to be wondering whether your license is going to pass or not. Because believe me, if you go on to the, I don't know if it's on the LTMS website, but if you go on to a website that shows you fake Filipino licenses, there are ways, many ways that the police can check whether that license is fake or not just by touching it. So take my advice, register on the LTMS website, make an appointment for your and go and get the medical. The medical is nothing. Make an appointment for the written test, but make sure it's the day before. Don't do it straight away because you'll be thrown off some of the questions. Go back home, go onto the websites, go through the basics highway code questions, and there are a few, like I said, that I've never seen before. I've never heard of them before. And some of the wording on the question is very hard sometimes. It's in English, but sometimes it's very hard to understand. And once you've done that, in the meantime, try and make an arrangement for someone to borrow you a car because they will not provide a car. I went to a driving school to see if I could borrow their car, but they're all taken. So it's best to get a friend of a friend. I gave him a tip for the use of his car, which is okay. I don't mind. But anyway, it's not hard. A lot of people fear this of getting a Filipino license, but it's not difficult. I went through the proper way. Medical, written, practical. And it's nothing to be frightened of. If you're used to European tests where it takes maybe 45 minutes to an hour and then you've got questions afterwards, then you get out of that car sweating because you've worked. But here, I think because you already have a license and you're experienced, it's a lot easier. So don't try and dodge the system. Don't use a fixer, and it will work out much cheaper, and you'll be driving around a lot happier knowing that the license you have in your pocket is an original, unique license. And I do apologize for the noise and the cockerels, but when you're living in the city, this is the Philippines. So thank you very much, and it's goodbye from him and goodbye from me. Thank you.